Hey there, y'all. So the main theme of this energy, as I'm picking up on it, feels to me like getting back on the horse. Getting back on track, getting back to oneself. Kind of like this sense of it's been a long time coming. Yeah, we got what needs mending, Comfrey. Spirit into Matter, Trillium, and Rewild Plantain. So this feels like you've been in some kind of a, maybe like emotional, spiritual, perhaps even like physical healing process that's felt like a little bit of a cocoon, like a little bit of, I'm hearing like kind of a haze, kind of a blur, so you may have been feeling like a little bit dissociated or a little bit like disconnected from yourself in the physical realm, like whether that's your hobbies, your friendships, whatever. There's something about like spirit like taking you and putting you in this space of like spiritual healing, to better articulate and actualize the things that you actually want. We got the Mirror, which in this deck corresponds to the Hanged Man, which again is another card about kind of being taken and put in a less than ideal position in order to kind of gain some experience. And with the Mirror here, I think that there's something about like confronting certain elements of your subconscious and your internal roots as far as like what you are truly, I'm hearing like both valuing and capable of doing, and these two cards here with this Trillium like Spirit into Matter, we see like the roots of this plant are connected to these like gemstones. It's like there is something that's like deep within you that is very precious, very valuable, potentially something that is going to like guide the path you're on. We have like a map over here. But I think that there's like this sense, especially with the rewild there, about like returning to like almost like the more feral elements of you. Like I'm hearing like, the part of you that was the like feral child. Maybe you felt like for a while you had to domesticate yourself for other people. Ten of Wands, I think that you're someone who like took on a lot of responsibility, potentially like from a young age, because the adults around you were not doing that. Like I think that with that mirror and responsibility there, it was like you became the role model that you should have had as far as how you were managing your energy, how you were taking care of the people around you, things like that. And I think that there's this sense of like spirit not wanting to chastise you for that, because they were like, no, like you were the role model, you were like the mirror for these people, you were the positive influence. You shouldn't have had to be, but you were. And so it's like they're not saying that anything that you were doing is like a bad thing, just that wasn't your burden to carry. And it's like if you still want to kind of like hold that energy, it's not a sense of like they're trying to divorce you from something precious to you. But with that Three of Swords there, it's like your guides, your ancestors, the people around you, like they see the pain that this causes. They see the pain that this causes you, and it's like they don't want you to feel like that is an inevitability. We got Two of Cups and Page of Wands. So this may have been a cycle that was internalized in childhood, but repeated through your connections, with that Two of Cups there. Potentially like most like noticeably like romantic connections, partnerships. And with that Page of Wands there's something about like taking you through this period, not to wear you out, not to wear you down, not because you've done anything wrong, but to almost like reconfigure your perspective, to give you that sense of childlike wonder and possibility and almost like freedom, lightness, like within your own energy, like knowing what it's like to move without the burdens of everybody else on your shoulders, like learning what that feels like, what your authentic motion feels like when it's not stifled by the responsibility of like being everyone else's role model. You know, like what if you were to do something here that is the Woodward Justice, maybe more aligned with what it is that you want, is true to you. It's like what would happen? What would happen if you let people just simply face the consequences of their actions? Like, you showed them what they needed to do. You were the role model. And you can be a good role model, but you can't be someone else, and you can't make them take advice no matter how good that advice is. So yeah, Justice and the Four of Swords. This is kind of just like teaching you how to step back and let the consequences flow naturally. Like there's this sense of things are going to go the way that they're going to go because that's the way that they're going to go, because those are the choices that have been made. Those are the things that are set into motion. And there's almost this sense of like, you know, spirit kind of like taking you out of the situation so that you don't feel responsible for like mitigating any potentially painful consequences. Because I feel like you may also be someone who takes on responsibility to try and like protect the people around you. But like at a certain point, it's like, you know, you don't have to, but the fact is, like, you do have protections of your own, you do have positive consequences of your own, and, you know, it's like spirit and the universe and the way that it sort of naturally functions as I'm not even like, you know, talking about like an intentionality to this. It's almost like they're giving it to me as like a natural process, like a natural balance. There are things that naturally happen like as the wheel turns based on your position in the wheel and everyone else's. And it's like you can advise people on the best position. You can position yourself, but at the same time, you know, you can't stop the wheel from turning, and you can't force someone to take a more advantageous perspective. Seven of Cups, Mourning. So I think that there's also something here about like this being a time for you to grieve the paths that weren't taken, and, you know, even like as you do that, acknowledging that, yeah, if you had followed through on those paths, you know, there probably would have been more grief than if you hadn't. But at the same time, it's still hard to lose an opportunity, still hard to lose something that matters, even if, you know, you pulled away for the right reasons, or, you know, you were kind of removed from the situation, spiritually speaking. And like there is this sense of like kind of clearing, and I'm hearing like shaping, manifesting a new reality that is reflective of the effort that you've put in, something that feels more fair, you know, because I think that for a long time, there's like almost this energy of you being put in positions that weren't fair, you know, being put into positions where you give someone not just your best, but also a blueprint for them to do their best. and you know, they don't do what they do with it what they really should. You know, in this Two of Cups, we have this like heart here. It has fire on it, sort of representative of like that shared emotion, shared connection. And in this Three of Swords, we see like another heart with a flame there, similar imagery, like pierced with these swords, or arrows, I guess in this case. It's the Three of Swords, but in this deck, that's the Three of Arrows. And like there is this sense of like, you know, you sharing something that was real, that was raw, that was passionate, that was bright, and that not being respected. And, you know, there's like only so long that, you know, the justice, the shifts according to that can be like fully ignored. But I think like the overall point here is that you're moving through this phase not as a punishment, but like as a healing. Ace of Pentacles. And I think like what's waiting on the other side is something that is worth the journey, because it's almost like a new journey in and of itself. Yeah, we got the Sun and the King of Wands here. This feels like an opportunity and not a burden. I feel like before, maybe like when there were opportunities, maybe something similar to this Ace of Pentacles, like it felt like the pain and the heartache was sort of a necessary cost that came along with that. You know, almost like you were paying for any opportunity with your own emotional or spiritual well-being. And over time, like that kind of made it harder for you to invest those resources in the things that matter to you, because even if you tell yourself like, oh, I'm resilient or it doesn't bother me, like it still takes a toll to have someone or something like not reciprocate the energy in a positive way, or to not nurture that. And I think here there's something that's a lot brighter, where you're realizing that it's like you're not paying an emotional cost in the same way for the opportunities that come to you. It's like the opportunities that come to you because you're good at what you do, because you deserve those opportunities, with like the Sun and the King of Wands. And so it's like the only payment that's required for those is just for you to like do a good job doing what you do. And I think like that's going to be kind of the moment of like stepping back into, you know, those hobbies, those passions, those projects. And I think like realizing how almost like good you are at the things that you do, and how that's something that I think has been waiting to come to light. I think like the skills that you've had have been a little bit throttled, a little bit underutilized, due to the amount that you have been sacrificing like your own energy to, you know, sort of pay these emotional, spiritual prices for the opportunities that you get, then leaving you unable to fully invest in the opportunities, and maybe feeling like, you know, where's my spark, where's my whatever. And this feels like a very different energy of like someone or something, even just like the universe with the opportunities it presents, like kind of investing in you from a place of not what do I get from this in return, you know, what energy is being offered, but rather like a place of I see what you're doing, and I think that's amazing. I want you to do more of that. Queen of Cups, emotional receptivity, the Ancestor, which is the Hierophant in this deck, Nine of Pentacles. It feels like there's also something here about, I really like that, like in this depiction of the Nine of Pentacles, or Nine of Stones in this deck, you see he's like literally holding on to a snake that's like similar to this King of Wands that we got just before. And I think like this is saying that like whatever this opportunity that you are to be receiving is it's something that is intended to help bestow like a greater level of like personal and financial security on you. And this is something that is very much like guided by the ancestors, the guides, the people that came before you that maybe weren't able to achieve this, or those that are very supportive of those energies. And I think that I'm hearing of like grown so accustomed to transactional situations that are not oriented in your favor that you may need to take a little bit of time to like acclimate yourself to the idea of people investing in supporting whatever it is that you do, believing in, appreciating whatever it is that you do, just from a place of liking you, liking what it is that you do. Even if you were to, do nothing for them personally, it's like, the work that you do, the passion that you show up with, that speaks for itself. And there's a longevity and a sustainability within that, that is very guided. It is very aligned, and I think that there's also something here about like you eventually stepping into, potentially even a role of helping to, teach or guide people who are working through like similar passions or, similar interests, and kind of like being a protective force and like source of inspiration. Got the Nine of Cups here, which in this deck, the keyword is generosity. So this is almost like you're someone who, it's like when your cup is full, you go and you start looking to see whose cup is empty. And your cup hasn't been full in a while. It's like you've been given a few drops and you're still trying to like share what you have. But there's this sense of like the cup being full. We got Temperance here, which is balance in this deck. Balance. And I think that you're also being taught that even if you have the capacity to fill your own cup, it's not wrong to, accept in a balanced way the, same type of energy and support that you want to offer to others. And really appreciating that. Knight of Pentacles. It's interesting. There's almost like a pausing or like a slowing down in the energy there, as far as I'm hearing like slow and steady wins the race. There's something here about continuing to engage as consistently and like responsibly with whatever it is that you care about, without like compromising your joy. This isn't like forcing yourself back into, the things that you're disconnected from too soon or too quickly, or, oh, I have to do this, or I have to, it's like, yeah, keep chipping away at it. Don't give up yet. You are reaching, I think, a pretty big turning point as far as reconnection with yourself. But like also don't give up or overdo it. You don't need to force it. It's like it'll start balancing itself out in the little ways, and then I think like that eventually becomes something bigger. Get a few more cards here. Let's see if there's anything else that we should know. We've got the Seven of Wands, the Devil, which is the Guardian, and the Queen of Wands here. So I feel like there's also something about this energy moving maybe a little like slow and methodically, as far as the healing, as far as the coming out of that cocoon, as far as the energetic reset, because there's almost like accounting for and protecting against certain negative influences, and like keeping you from falling back into any of those patterns, you know, and like you're very aware, you're very attuned, like with this hair. Like there's a sense of, you know, no little sound, no little vibrations can get past you there. And you know what the devil looks like, and you know sort of like what works and what doesn't, as far as protecting yourself, as far as maintaining your awareness, without shifting into full on like hypervigilance. And so like there's this sense of, yeah, there are still obstacles. We're moving slowly. We're reconnecting deliberately. We're balancing out the satisfaction and the joy and the responsibility and the diligence. But it is moving and it is connected. And I think that with that Queen of Wands, it's like you can feel it. You can feel it. It's almost like palpable. And I think like that may be also increasing some of the tension as far as like wanting to reconnect with things, or like maybe thinking about or feeling like drawn to, you know, old hobbies or projects or connections, and, you know, feeling like you're preparing. This feels, you know, like we're getting to the very end of like the tutorial, and they're about to put you out to, you know, like test out these things without the limitations of the tutorial area. You know, and wanting to make sure that you're adequately prepared and adequately aware, and offering you kind of like some protections. They're not just going to send you out there and feed you to the wolves, so to speak. But also, like, there is this sense of like you're meant to be connected to what makes you happy. You're meant to be connected to your passions. You're meant to exist in a way that isn't so burdened and isn't so restricted, and is more free flowing. You know, it's not meant to feel quite as stagnant or quite as heavy. And I think like as this period of like reset, of manifestation and dredging up the energy from all corners is shifting and really coming to a close. I think that there's going to be some forward momentum for you there. King of Cups. And a lot of emotional fulfillment. A lot of Ace of Cups. Yeah, what did I say? So a lot of emotional fulfillment in a lot of ways, and a lot of new and inspiring and beautiful connections that are yet to be made for you, that are, I think, going to be very gratifying, going to be very healing. I think you just have to trust that you're being put there because you have the capacity to hold that, and you are more than adequately prepared for it. So hopefully that helps, and yeah, best of luck with this.